What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with my Week 4 wide receiver rankings, half-point PPR as always. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I post waiver wire stuff every week, rankings every week, as well as buy lows, sell highs, and I answer all your guys' fantasy football questions. So if you're looking for that edge, want to run something by somebody, leave your comments in the comment section down below. Let me know start, sit, trade suggestions, who you should cut, any of that type of stuff. I got you guys, and I will help you win your fantasy football championship this season. So hit that subscribe button if you want to beat your friends and family at fantasy football. Okay, let's hop into these Week 4 rankings. Before I do, actually, hit that like button and leave those comments. It really helps out the algorithm. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about these Week 4 wide receiver rankings. Number 1, Stefon Diggs against Baltimore. This is a great matchup for him and one where Buffalo could need to score the ball a lot. Diggs' target share this year has been awesome. Really excited about him for this matchup. Number 2, Cooper Kupp against San Francisco. Tougher matchup for him, but he's Cooper Kupp. He's a stud. 3, Jamar Chase against Miami. Excited for him in this game. It's in Cincinnati. We saw Diggs cramping up and everybody cramping up in that game last week. You don't have to worry about that one being in Cincinnati. Number 4, Justin Jefferson draws a tough matchup with Lattimore, but I still have faith in Justin Jefferson. You're rolling him out there each and every week. Number 5, Debo Samuel against the Rams. After how abysmal they looked on offense last week, I expect a lot of running and a lot of Debo Samuel in this one. I've been saying that for weeks, and he hasn't really gotten it going yet, but I still believe in Debo season long. I think he'll get it going, even in this matchup against the Rams. Number 6, Tyreek Hill against Cincinnati. Tyreek just gets the targets. I think, I'm not worried about last week. Every receiver has bad games, and in this one, they'll need to score. Number 7, A.J. Brown against Jacksonville. Great matchup for him. He's done historically very good against them. He used to play in that same division. And obviously, Jalen Hurts has looked phenomenal this season. Number 8, Devonte Adams. Tough matchup against Denver, but he's Devonte Adams. He gets a ton of targets, and he's an absolute stud, and he's a difference maker. Number 9, Michael Pittman Jr. Speaking of target hogs, who plays Tennessee this week, would be excited to roll him out there in any lineup. Number 10, Jalen Waddle against Cincinnati. He'd honestly probably be higher on this list. He's wide receiver 3 right now, but he just doesn't get a ton of targets every week with Tyreek being there. But he's extremely talented, and he can get it done. Number 11, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a little bit lower on this list. We don't even know if he's going to play at this point. Keep an eye on that, but if he does play, I am playing him. Number 12, Mike Evans in his return from suspension against Kansas City. I'm rolling him out there. Great touchdown upside in this one. They'll need to score. No guarantee to me that Julio Jones plays. I think he probably will. But even if he does, Mike Evans is the one on this team moving forward. Number 13, Courtland Sutton against Vegas. This is a great matchup for him. He's top 5 in the league in receiving yards. Even though the touchdowns haven't come so far, I still like Courtland Sutton. And honestly, if they look poor, I don't expect them to completely turn everything around just because they're playing Vegas, but this is a good matchup, and they should be better. Number 14, T. Higgins against Miami. Gets a good amount of targets each and every week, and Joe Burrow looked good. That offensive line much improved last week, so rolling him out there in that matchup against Miami should be a good one. 15, CeeDee Lamb against Washington. He's been getting the targets. Cooper Rush has looked solid, and this is a good matchup for him, so I'm playing CeeDee Lamb. Just need him to go out there and catch the football. 16, Marquis Brown against Carolina. Brown had 14 receptions last week, 17 targets. He's an absolute burner, a speedster. Excited to roll him out there this week. 17, Christian Kirk. Tough matchup for him, but he plays in that slot, which is, he's not going to be guarded by Darius Slay in the slot. I think Christian Kirk should be played in your lineups this week. 18, Keenan Allen. I expect him to play this week. He plays Houston. I don't know how much they'll throw the ball, although they threw the ball an absolute ton last week. But Keenan Allen, you're playing each and every week. 19, Amari Cooper. Been playing well recently and has a good matchup this week against Atlanta. You're playing him. Mike Williams against Houston. Again, not a huge week for him last week. Had the touchdown reception that bailed him out, but he is just such a big boom-bust guy. I think you have to plug him into your lineups. You drafted him for that. You knew what he was, and he's got a good matchup against Houston. Number 21, Curtis Samuel against Dallas. Curtis Samuel has been heavily targeted. He's getting rush attempts each and every week. I am playing him, even though he didn't have the best week last week. He was still utilized heavily. 22, Drake London against Cleveland. Speaking of guys that are heavily utilized, He gets a good amount of targets each and every week, not as much as Curtis Samuel or anything like that, but he's super talented, and he's the one of the two on this team with him and Pitt, so you're rolling him out there. 23, Devonte Smith against Jacksonville. It's a good matchup. He looked phenomenal last week. He's earning Jalen Hurts' trust, and Jalen Hurts has looked like a stud so far this season. 24, Chris Olave against Minnesota, coming off a monster game and a ton of targets the week before. I think you're playing Chris Olave just about every single week, at least as a flex play, if not a wide receiver too. 25, Gabe Davis. I think he has a ton of upside in this game against Baltimore. We've seen Baltimore's secondary struggle a lot, and they could need to score points in this one with the way Lamar Jackson's been playing recently. So I think Gabe Davis is a great play in both fantasy, normal fantasy, and daily fantasy lineups as well. 26, Brandon Cooks against the Chargers. He's underwhelmed, but I do think he will get it going. I'm not worried about him season long, but you might have to temper your expectations for him a tiny bit, but I still like Brandon Cooks this year. 27, Terry McLaurin gets Dallas this week. I do have Samuel ranked ahead of him. That's just because of he gets a good amount of targets, and he's getting those rush attempts, which I really do like. And I think Terry McLaurin will draw more attention in this matchup. 28, Rashad Bateman. Buffalo is pretty banged up on the secondary. Poyer didn't play last week. Micah Hyde's out for the season. They're playing a lot of rookie corners. Trey White is out as well. So even though they've done well against receivers to start the year, I think Bateman in a game where they need to score could be the guy for Lamar again. 29, DK Metcalf, great matchup for him against Detroit. If you're not playing him in this matchup, I don't know really when you're going to play him. 30, Michael Thomas against Minnesota, solid matchup for him. He didn't, have that touchdown last week and is a little banged up, so something to monitor, but I do think he should play. I think he's a solid flex play. 31, Garrett Wilson. I think you're rolling him out there in this week, but I would temper my expectations a bit just with Zach Wilson returning. Will we see that same type of target share, that same type of passing volume? Both those things have yet to be seen, something to monitor, but I still think you can play him moving forward. Deontay Johnson against the Jets. Guy's been heavily targeted, just hasn't been able to put it in the end zone. Their offense has looked abysmal. I think this is their get-it-right game. I'm not saying the offense will be great, but again, if you can't play Deontay Johnson in this matchup, when exactly are you going to play him? 33, DJ Moore. Speaking of a guy who's underwhelmed this year, but he has got a good matchup. He's still a good wide receiver. We just need Baker Mayfield to figure it out a little bit. Will that happen? Who knows? But I do think you can play DJ Moore this week against Arizona if you need to. 34, Tyler Lockett against Detroit. Like I said, same thing for DK. He's a good wide receiver. This is a good matchup. If you're not going to play him in this one, you're probably not going to play him in a whole lot of games this year. 35, Jerry Judy against Las Vegas. Honestly, a guy who you can play, but I would probably like to see have a good game before I start putting him into my lineups again. 36, Romeo Dobbs, my number one waiver wire pickup this week. He plays New England. Tough matchup somewhat, but I think he is an emerging star and he's the one on this team moving forward. Doesn't have as much touchdown upside necessarily as a guy like Allen Lazard, but I think he'll be targeted more often. And 37, Brandon Ayuk against the Rams. Ayuk has looked solid this season, and if they choose to push that ball down the field a little bit more, he could be the guy. 38, Juju Smith-Schuster against Tampa Bay. He's that slot guy. I think they could need to throw in this one. I expect this Tampa Bay offense to look much improved in this game against Kansas City, so there should be some more points put up on the board. 39, DJ Chark against Seattle. Gets a ton of air yards, and if Amon St. Brown is to miss, I think you can definitely play DJ Chark. Love him in daily as well. He's such a high upside play. Like I said, with those bomb attempts he gets and a good matchup against Seattle. 40, Allen Lazard. I think he's got great touchdown upside each and every week with that connection that he has with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not afraid to play him against New England. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys so much for watching.